So I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is the Trials of Osiris hand cannon Igneous Hammer is dropping. The bad news, it's only from Flawless. Now, just like Messenger last week, I think eventually we're gonna get Igneous Hammer as the 3-win reward. But I can tell you right now, everybody is sweating their balls off because they want this hand cannon. And for good reason. It's in a meta archetype. It has some of the best stats in the game amongst other 120s, even surpassing that of Duke. And that was like the thing with Duke, right? Duke was superior stat-wise. It also comes with the aim assist value of 69, which is quite nice. Now, this hand cannon is present in the energy slot, which puts it in direct competition with Bottom Dollar. Now, we did a review on Bottom Dollar the other day. That is the Gambit hand cannon, and I said it was the best 120 in the game, with the right rolls, of course. And by right roll, I mean surplus. That's such a phenomenal trait, which boosts all of your stats, especially in the handling department. Igneous, though, is a little different because it just says, hey, you don't need surplus on us. We just have really good stats, like stupid good stats. And oh yeah, you want max range? Shabam! So big shout out to Les, Eclipse, as well as Aztecross for their rolls. Incredible RNG, fellas. But which one of these rolls was actually the best? And we do have a PvE roll in here for those that are trying to lock this one down for PvE. Yes, it does do solar damage. No, it doesn't come with Dragonfly. Missed opportunity for Warmind cells. So roll number 1 on this list is actually Eclipse's roll. His looked sexy, man. Small bore for that bump there in stability and range. Ricochet rounds for another bump there in stability and range. The first trait is Killing Wind. Final blows grants increased mobility, weapon range, and handling. Think of this as like an extra 3 meters in your range upon getting a kill. It's quite nice. And considering the range stat that's found on this hand cannon, on the high end, I'm talking like 90 plus range, all the way to max, you'll be hitting north of 45 meters. And then at max, you'll actually be hitting up to 46 meters, no damage fall off. 46, no damage fall off. Yes, you could do the exact same thing with Rangefinder on other 120s like True Prophecy, but as analyzed in our most recent Palindrome video, Rangefinder has some drawbacks. It narrows that accuracy cone, making it harder to hit crits. Igneous, though, allows you to completely bypass that by just having superior stats, allowing you to reach that max range. And the final trait on this weapon for this particular role is Rampage, which does allow this weapon at 1 stack of Rampage to hit 99 per crit and essentially allow it to easily 2-tap Guardians 0.5 seconds. Now, this role was good. Everything about it should be screaming nasty, but I just played with my role before playing with this role. And even though I really liked Killing Wind, was the bump there in range really that necessary? Not really. Fellas, you're sitting at 46 meters. I mean, how much more do you need? And even though Rampage was nice, I felt like I could have paired it with something, well, a little bit better. Which takes us to my roll right here. This one came with Hammerforge Rifling, Flare Magwell, Quick Draw for that unbelievable draw time speed, as well as just maxing out that handling, and Rampage as my trait. Now, obviously, this is almost the God roll, but it could have been better. I could have got Ricochet rounds. I could have got a range masterwork, or even a stability masterwork if I wanted to give myself some stability. But to be honest with you, Quick Draw made up for all those things. I talked about how good surplus is on Bottom Dollar, how much I like surplus, and that is a really good trait, but I'm starting to lean a little more toward Igneous, simply because it already has stats that outpaces even the godliest Bottom Dollar rolls, putting Bottom Dollar in a scenario where it has to have surplus in order to compete with Igneous. And yes, Bottom Dollar can roll with Quick Draw. The problem is that its base stats from its stability, from its range, from its handling, as well as its other hidden stats like aim assist, all those things are less than that of Igneous. So Igneous doesn't even need surplus, although I would have loved to have it on here. Quick Draw, though, was just fine. And considering you can get the Adept version of Igneous this weekend, yep, all your stats, including the stat that you got a masterwork in, gets a bump by +3. So yes, I got a +10 reload here, but all my other stats, handling, stability, even range, all get a +3 there in their stats. On top of that, with it being the Adept version, you can apply Adept mods, whether it's the Adept +10 range or Adept stability, or the ever so sexy Adept Icarus, which adds on +5 range, as well as in-air accuracy. And overall, I think my roll was my favorite, which never happens. Between Igneous and Palindrome, man, we are living in RNG heaven. But this takes us to Les's roll. Les had a roll here that I just wanted to give a go. Instead of Quick Draw, what about Snapshot? What about being able to aim down sights immediately? His roll came with high caliber rounds for that increase in range range as well as flinch. We're going to talk about that a little more. Rapid hit as well as snapshot. Now, when I compare it to his God roll bottom dollar, here you get a representation of the difference here in perks. Yes, bottom dollar has surplus, but look how much Igneous outpaces it. Now, how did this roll perform? Okay, a couple of things to take away from this roll. Number one, even though snapshot is kind of like quick draw because it allows you to aim down sights immediately, I find quick draw just to be so much better. And yes, you can actually roll quick draw snapshot on this weapon together, which kind of sounds crazy. That probably would make this 120 feel like a 140. But this roll in general, I just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't jiving with it. Yes, rapid hit is nice, but again, it's nowhere near as powerful as it was pre-nerf. It's really powerful on certain weapons like pulse rifles, where you can get immediate 3 stacks of rapid hit due to that 3-round burst. But on single shot weapons, especially 120, I just wasn't finding that much benefit from rapid hit. I do believe if you want to go these snapshot routes, there's nothing wrong with going snapshot quick draw, which takes us to the suggested God roll from us. Hands down, I think quick draw needs to be the go-to perk here in that entire column. Above rapid hit, above outlaw, above killing win and subsistence. We'll get into PvE rolls in just a moment, but I think quick draw needs to be the perk you go for. I also want to talk about high caliber rounds for just a moment. Les and I sat there for hours this morning testing flinch from high cal. This is an aggressive frame hand cannon, meaning intrinsically it's supposed to be carrying high cal. My experience is that high caliber rounds doesn't seem to be making a big difference here on 120s, or for any aggressives for that matter. I just felt like high caliber was kind of a wasted trait, and it would be better served to how to be using a magazine perk or just ricochet rounds. Because I too was under the assumption that maybe high cal and aggressive would stack and you would get like this super double high caliber round. But again, from my testing, no, that's not the case. But as far as trait combinations go, quick draw rampage was really good. You can even go quick draw moving target. And if you really wanted to get crazy, quick draw or snapshot. But again, hand cannon targeting will eventually be back in the game. I know it's bugged out right now, but hand cannon targeting perks, which are essentially enhanced hand cannon targeting, allows for your weapon to aim down sight faster. Meaning something like snapshot starts to lose its value when you include hand cannon targeting, especially if you're double stacking hand cannon targeting. So I would much rather take advantage of, say, something like rampage for that bump there in damage to at least get a 2-tap after getting the first kill, or just a consistency perk like moving target. The only drawback to this weapon inside of PvP that might give bottom dollar an edge or true prophecy an edge is that this weapon doesn't come with a payload perk. I've talked about how good payload is, whether it's time payload or explosive payload. Both of those traits offer a hell of a lot of flinch, but they shoot a physical projectile. And there are many times that I land shots from a payload perk that should have never landed, much less land and be a crit. And that's actually due to the payload perk itself. It's got a level of consistency that just isn't natural, but it's a thing. Now, despite Igneous not having a payload perk, it really doesn't matter all too much considering how well-rounded this weapon actually is, how good its stats are, and when you combine it with things like quick draw, rampage, moving target, you'll be just fine. Now, as far as the God roll for PvE, 1 for all is found on this weapon. And I would say either 1 for all, rampage with outlaw, or subsistence all day long. And if you want to go rapid hit, go right ahead. I actually landed a 1 for all subsistence roll. The only drawback is, of course, the mag size being as small as it is. But considering this is an adept weapon, yes, you can throw on an adept backup mag mod. So is Igneous now the best 120? I know we just said that bottom dollar is the best 120 in the game, even more so than true prophecy to me. Has Igneous dethroned it? Really what it comes down to, guys, is just the roll. I think all these weapons are really good depending on the roll. There is no way in hell I would choose an Igneous Hammer with celerity and subsistence over a surplus explosive payload bottom dollar. The rolls make all the difference. But if we were to compare God roll to God roll, Igneous would be probably my go-to option. Man, it's tough. Like, this is a tough one because I really do like bottom dollar. It's super consistent with explosive payload, but I'm leaning more toward Igneous due to the fact that it can be an adept, it can apply adept mods, it can get the adept masterwork. On paper, Igneous definitely looks superior. And from my experience, I'm finding myself becoming heavily dependent on this quick draw Igneous Hammer. So guys, good luck getting this gun. I know there are some players that are going to be upset that this is just a flawless reward this week, but I very much see Bungie making this weapon the 3-win reward. And when they do, even though you can't apply adept mods to it, hands down, even the base version of this hand cannon will serve you well. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.